Hello, welcome to Engineering Statics lecture number 19 over section 6.4, and we're going to learn the method of sections. We just finished with the method of joints. Now we're going to learn about the method of sections. So in the method of sections, by the time we're done with this lecture, you should be able to calculate the forces in the truss members using the method of sections, which is a little bit different than the method of joints that we learned last time. Similarly, in applications, in large trusses, the only reason you might not want to use the method of joints is because there are so many joints in a large truss, and sometimes you only need to analyze a fewer members. So the method of sections gives us a way to do not quite every joint and just certain forces that we might be solving for. So in the method of sections, a truss is divided into two parts by taking an imaginary cut. Shown here on the right as this AA. It's this line right here. So you cut it through the truss. And since our truss members are subjected to only tensile or compressive forces, tensile or compressive, along their length, then the internal forces at the cut members will also be either tensile or compressive with the same magnitude. The steps for analyzing a truss by the method of sections starts with number one. You need to decide how you need to cut the truss, where you're going to make that cut. Typically, you initially start with based on where you need to determine forces. And you also want to choose somewhere where the total number of unknowns does not exceed 3, because we only have 3 equations in 2 dimensions, so we can't have more than 3 unknowns. So after you decide where you're going to cut it, you decide which side of the cut truss will be easier to work with. For example, down below, I have this truss that we're cutting at A, and in the middle, I have a picture of the left side of that, and on the right, I have a picture of the right side of the truss. And you can see, if I was going to calculate it for the right side, I would have to find the reaction forces, where I don't have to do that in the left side. So it might be easier to use the left side. That's just an example. So after that, we're going to determine any necessary support reactions if we need to. By drawing the free body diagram of the entire truss and applying the equations of equilibrium, or 3 equations of equilibrium in 2 dimensions. All right, once we've got all of our support reactions, if we need them, we're going to draw the free body diagram. Of the selected cut part of the truss. So we have to indicate the unknown forces at the cut members. Note that we should always assume all the members are in tension. We're always going to assume in tension. That way, once you solve it, if the answer is positive, the member is in tension per our assumption. But if the answer is negative, then the member must be in compression. We're always going to assume tension, which means we're always going to draw it away from its starting point. So the last thing we're going to do is apply the scalar equations of equilibrium to our cut truss and solve for our unknowns. Okay, so we've got an example here. Here's example number 1, which is just the one we've already been looking at. So you can see I'm going to take the cut truss. It's asking me to find the force in member CB. So that's CB, which is right here, CG, which is right here, and FG. So that's why we're going to take this cut at A, because it cuts through all of those. So it will leave me so I can calculate those. I'm going to use the left side so I don't have to solve for support reactions, but I could do the right side and solve for the support reactions if I wanted to. So this is my free body diagram already drawn for me. So you can see I've got the left side of the truss, and I have assumed all of them are in tension, except that they're showing this one in compression, but we're going to change it. This one at the bottom should be in tension, so we're assuming it goes away. So we've assumed all of them in tension, so I'm going to put an arrow to this one just so you know. We're going to assume it's in tension. So now we can take our moment equations and our force equations of equilibrium to solve. So the first thing I'm going to do, if I solve for the moments about point E, then I will only have FBC because FGC and FGF go through point G. So I'm going to start with counterclockwise positive. I'm going to sum the moments about point G, and they should equal 0 because we are in equilibrium. So I am going to have the 1,000 Newton force is positive, and it is 2 meters away. And then all I've got is FBC, which is negative, FBC, and it is also 2 meters away, equals 0, which tells us that FBC equals 1,000 newtons, and it is positive, so therefore it is in tension, just as we assumed. My second equation, I'm going to sum the forces in the X, or I'm going to do the Y direction first. So this is another one where doing it, the order you do it can matter. If I try to do the sum of the forces in the X, I'm going to have both FGF and FGC. So I want to be able to solve for one of those before I do my forces in the X direction. So the sum of the forces in the Y direction equals 0. So I'm going to have negative 1,000. And then all I'm going to have is FGC times the sine of 45. Equals 0. So now I can solve for FGC. So I'm going to get that FGC equals 1414.214 newtons. All right. So now I'm going to finish up, and I'm going to do the sum of the forces in the X direction so I can solve for my last force that I don't know. And I'm going to have FBC is positive 1,000. I'm going to have the component of FGC, which is also positive, 1414.214 times the cosine of 45 degrees. And then I assumed FGF was in tension, so I'm going to assume it's positive. FGF equals 0. So when I calculate that, I'm going to get that FGF is negative, which means it's in compression. So for my answers, I'm going to write out my answers and show which ones are in tension and which ones are in compression. So you need to do that for your problems. So we're going to have FBC, we solved for, which is 1,000 newtons, and it was positive, so it's in tension, so I'm going to put a T after it. We have FGC, which was also positive, 14.21, so it is also in tension. And then I have FGF, which is negative, so it is going to be 2,000 newtons in compression. Put a box around my answers. So you do need to spell it out at the end to clearly show which ones you calculated were in tension and which ones were in compression. All right, let's do another example. So example number 2, I've got this beautiful truss here, and you can see I've already drawn my free body diagrams just to save some time. So I'm going to determine the force in member GE. So all it wants right now, all it's asking me for is this member right here. So I'm going to cut this truss at this line AA, and it looks like whether I take the right or I take the left, I'm going to need to know some support reactions because they both have support reactions in them. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my free body diagram of the entire thing with the support reactions. So I've got a pin at A, so I'm going to have a of Y, and I'm going to assume the direction of A of X and A of Y. Then I've got a roller at D, which means it has to be perpendicular to the surface, which is directly up. And then I've got a 1,200 Newton force somewhere around here, and a 400 Newton force up here. All right, that's all I have for the body as a whole. So let's solve for our reactions. So if I sum the moments about point A, I will find D. And then I can just study the right side because I will have the answer I need. I don't need A of X and A of Y to solve for the right-hand side. So let's do our sum of the moments. Positive sum of the moments about point A, because there are two forces there. That's why I'm going to do that. And it's going to give me D of Y. So when I'm looking at this, I've got 1,200, and it's going to go in the negative direction because it's going to go clockwise, negative 1,200 times 8. And similarly, the 400 is also negative 400, and it's going to be times 3. And then I've got plus dy, which I don't know yet, times 12 equals 0, which is going to give me that dy equals 900 newtons. And it is positive, so what I assumed was correct, which we knew because it's a roller, but just for clarification, it does go up. So now I can draw my cut portion of the truss. So I'm only going to draw the forces that are on the right side of this. So I solve for D of Y. So I'm going to put it over here at the corner. And we said it was 900 newtons. And then I've got a force here going down. That is worth 1,200 newtons. I've got a force here going to the right, which is 400 newtons. And then the only other thing I have is that I need to identify my unknown forces. I'm going to assume they're all in tension, so they're all going away from the joint. So I'm going to have one force here that is FGE. I'm going to have one force here, which is GC, and I'm going to have one force here, which is FBC. Now it's only asking me for GE, so I don't need to solve for all the other ones if I don't have to. So let's put our points on here. So this is point C, this is point E, this is point D, because now I'm going to take my moments. I am going to take my moments about point C because that will allow me to solve for FGE because FGC and FBC go through C. So I am going to do my counterclockwise. It's positive. Sum of the moments about point C equals 0. So about point C, the 1200 Newton goes through it, so it doesn't impact it. I've got the 400 Newtons, which is going to be negative, and it is 3 meters away. And then I'm going to have the 900 Newton is going to be positive, and it is 4 meters away. And then I'm going to have FGE, which is also positive. And its distance is 3 meters equals 0. So this is going to allow me to solve for FGE. And when I get FGE, I find that it is negative 800 newtons, which means that it is in compression because we assumed it was in tension. So that means for my final answer, I'm going to write that FGE equals 800 newtons. I'm going to put a little C after it to show that it is in compression. That is my answer. All right. Let's do one more problem, and then I'll do the last problem as an extra add-on. Actually, I'm going to do the next 2 problems as extra add-ons, so you don't have to watch them if you don't feel like you need them. But they're good examples. So I'm going to end this lecture for now. Hope you